You and Idol Precure is an absolute financial success. Hello everyone, it's Leo, and in this video we are going to talk about sales. The numbers of the third quarter of 2025 have just been released, both from the Bandai toy sales and also from the toy animation licensing as well. So both of them are going to be analyzed in this video. Both of them are great numbers. For You and Idol, it is an absolute beast when it comes to sales. And so we're going to talk about that a lot. So the third quarter that we're going to analyze in this video is related to July, August, and September. Those 3 months had something important going on for You and Idol. The first one was the release of the Kira Kira Reborn Baton, which is a very beautiful item. I absolutely love it. This item was the new item with the group attack from the Idol Precures. Very pretty. We also had the release of another special item for this season, which is the ribbon that gives Cure Idol her power-ups, both from the movie and in the series. And we also had the release of the movie of You and Idol Precure, which also gave a lot of momentum and a lot of power for You and Idol. So I did a previous video talking about the sales of the second quarter of You and Idol, which were already very, very strong. And in this video, I explained how the sales are organized, how sales for Precure work. And I feel like I'm not going to repeat everything. I'm going to leave a link down below if you'd like to understand how it goes. But I think there is something really important to mention every time. Whenever we have the reveal of numbers when it comes to the Precure franchise, the numbers are never focused on a Precure season. It is always Precure. So it is the Precure franchise. It is the Precure branch. It's the sales related to Precure, not to You and Idol, not to Delicious Party Precure. Not really. Obviously, if we're talking about 2025, the biggest sales of this year are going to be related to You and Idol. If we talk about 2024, the biggest sales are going to be released related to Wonderful Precure, etc., etc., etc. Even though there are other releases during the year that can also boost and help sales. We're going to get to that. So it's important to mention that Precure sales are always related as Precure. It's the franchise as a whole. And the numbers we analyze here are two indicators, basically. One of them is from Toy Animation themselves, which is related to the whole franchise, the whole Precure franchise. And they release those numbers for investors. It's not really for the fans, but we, the fans, end up analyzing them. They release those for investors. And the toy numbers are related to the licensing of the Precure franchise. The Bandai numbers, which Bandai is the manufacturer of the toys, the Bandai numbers are related to toy sales. Not all toys from Precure are Bandai necessarily, which we're going to go over, like the sales of the Pretty Store, which is the store itself that sells Precure merch. It's not going to fall under Bandai. So if you buy acrylics from Brujula, for example, it's not really going to be bundled with the Bandai sales. Bandai sales are sales from the toys from Bandai specifically, like the main toys of the season, like the transformation devices, the weapons, etc. So let us start by analyzing the numbers as a whole. So we have two charts. Those charts are done by fans. It's important to mention here. This one is the Bandai chart, and this one is the toy chart, the toy licensing chart, and this one is the Bandai toy sales chart. As I said, this was done by fans, but based on the numbers that were revealed by both Toy and Bandai. Down here, you can see You and Idol, but remember, as I said, it's not the sales from You and Idol. It is the sales from 2025. So in here, for example, we have the sales of the first quarter of the year of 2025, January to March. In here, the second quarter, April to June, and here the third quarter, July to September. So it is just an arrangement based on those. And obviously, when we get to January, for example, there is no merch sales from You and Idol yet. People are still buying things from the last season, which was wonderful, for example. But then the big sales start in February when the season starts, and things get wild. And things got really wild this year, last year as well. Wonderful Precure already had super, super powerful and strong sales. And this year, it's being even stronger. Just as an example here, let's just look at this chart right here, which is the Bandai sales, the toy sales, specifically from Bandai. If we look at this chart, with the third quarter of the year, You and Idol has already surpassed the total sales that happened last year with Bandai. So the 2025 sales only from January to September are already higher than the last year's sales from January to December. That is really crazy. And it's also important to mention 2025 is rivaling 2018, which was when Hugto was airing. The sales from You and Idol are very similar to the Hugto sales, which was, if you look at this chart, it's really obvious. It was one of the strongest Precure seasons. After Smile, no other season of Precure has sold as much as Hugto. And now You and Idol is not really rivaling, but the numbers are close to what Hugto was. And it's also important to mention that Hugto was an anniversary season, and this also comes into play. Let's analyze some little factors here and there, starting with the numbers from Toy Animation. And another thing that I want to mention here. Why is it important for us to talk about numbers from the Precure franchise? Lately, it was announced that the long-running Sentai show is going to be canceled and it's going to be rebranded into a different thing. This is happening because the sales from the Sentai have been stale. They haven't been declining, but they are stale. They're not growing. And so some Precure fans were worried. Can this happen with Precure as well? And if we look at the sales here, we can see that there was a huge downfall in the Precure sales, especially during the era, in a very sad era of our experience as humans, which was the pandemic. This was very tough for sales when it comes to Precure. Not talking about creativity, not talking about quality of the show itself, but the sales were really hard. And obviously this video is only about sales. And so the difference here is that the numbers from the Sentai, they were stale. They were not declining, but they were stale. And because of that, they're trying to rebrand and turn it into something else to see if it gathers different attention. Precure, on the other hand, is on a roll. It's growing again. It is starting to gain more momentum. And we want to have to go deeper into that a little later. Let us focus a little bit on the things that have been happening in the Precure franchise. This is a little bit on the toy side of the sales. And those are some of the things that Toy presented to their investors related to the Precure franchise. This first one here is related to the movie. You and Idol Precure, the movie. It was a huge, huge success in Japan. When this was released, it's already a little outdated because it's like from 2 weeks ago. So obviously more people have watched this movie. But when they released this, the number was that more than 930,000 tickets have been sold for this movie. It's almost 1 million tickets sold. It's a very, very big number. And it is the third most successful Precure movie ever. The first one is Precure All-Stars F. The second one, The Wonderful Precure Movie. And now the third one, You and Idol Precure the Movie. Very, very strong numbers. So this is one indicator that Precure is doing really, really well. The third highest in history when it comes to the ranking of the box office. And those two numbers here are interesting for us to analyze. The first one is the merchandise sales business. When it comes to merchandise sales, it is stores that are focused on merchandise sales, like the Pretty Store from Precure and other stores from the toy branch. And it's important to mention that compared to last year, the merchandise sales from the toy branch, they had a downfall of 23.6%, which is a huge number. But Toy Animation has made it clear for their investors. This downfall happened because in 2024, there was a movie called The First Slam Dunk. Slam Dunk is a very popular franchise, a basketball franchise in Japan, and it's super, super popular. And in 2024, there was a movie related to Slam Dunk that made a huge smash in merchandise sales. So it pushed the sales way up. So compared to this year, that there's no Slam Dunk movie, the sales have come down 23.6%, which is a huge drop. But they made it clear for the investors. Even with this huge drop, what happened was that the Precure series shop businesses performed extremely well. And they were above average this year, even with a drop. So they made it clear for their investors. The number has dropped, but it's not because of Precure. Precure is kind of like what's been holding the numbers, because the merchandise sales for Precure, meaning the Pretty Store, they have been super, super strong. And they made it clear there. So it's crazy, right? And another thing down here, we can see that this chart right here means other businesses, and it went up 10.3% compared to last year. What happened? The revenue increased thanks to successful events. So what is happening is that Toy Animation is also focusing a lot on events that happen that you have to buy the tickets to go to. And they mentioned two different franchises as the success of those events. The first one is obviously Precure. The second one is Girls Band Cry. Both of those franchises, they have very, very strong events. This year, there was even some concern because the Precure events, they were getting sold out really fast and people were reselling the tickets in a very high price. And Toy Animation is now trying to fight against this practice. It's just something that shows how strong the franchise is. So incredible. I think it's an incredible moment for, and I thought it was important to bring those two topics here because, they just go to show that Precure is being like this front runner for Toy Animation when they're showing their numbers. They're making it clear Precure is doing extremely well. And now for the domestic licensing, as we can see here in the Toy Animation numbers, You and Idol is being a smash hit. It was a steady and a slow and steady year for You and Idol, or for 2025, and the numbers have been really, really strong. As you can see here, Hugto was the strongest. For the toy numbers, we still have Doki Doki being like a very strong season when it comes to licensing stuff, and then things started going down a little bit. But when it comes to the return of Precure here with Hugto, it was super, super strong, and then it started growing again only in Hirogaru Sky Precure. The Bandai sales are a little different, but overall the same feel, I think. But as I said, I think it's important to mention that Kimi to Aiduru, or You and Idol, is a smash already. If you compare it to the Hugto numbers, if we go very close here, it's very close to what Hugto was. And it's probably going to surpass Star Twinkle, which was a very strong seller that year as well in 2019. But 2018 is obviously the strongest. We don't know if You and Idol is going to manage to hit the same sales as Hugto, or if it's going to come close, or if it's going to surpass. We don't really know. But just with the 3 quarters that we already have, the numbers are really, really huge. And I mean, they already surpassed 2024, which was a super strong year. If you look here too, like last year was amazing. It was a super, super solid seller. Wonderful Precure was a huge success when it comes to merchandise sales. And You and Idol is following on that path and, growing the numbers even more. So it's truly impressive to see those numbers for you and Idol. But it's also important to check out what they've been doing with the Precure franchise here. So this is the Precure series estimated annual sales from January to December. It's also another thing that it's important to mention that as I said, there's this other video that I focus on other details, which is the fiscal year in Japan. The fiscal year in Japan starts in April and finishes in March. So some fans like to see the success of a season starting in April and finishing in March, because those are the numbers that when Toei Animation releases like a full year of number, they release from April to March, which is the fiscal year in Japan. So this chart right here focuses on January to December, which I also think is a better way to try and garner the success of a specific season of Precure, because obviously we know that the season doesn't start in January and ends in December, but in January, the season that is airing in January is not releasing any more toys. People are still buying the past toys if they want to, but they're not releasing new toys like big weapons or power-up items or anything like that. You know, the success is almost over to prepare the area for the next Precure season. And so, as we can see here, from 2020 onwards, there was a huge drop in numbers. What happens is, in 2020, the world was in a very bad state. We know that, right? And so things started going down until 2022, that Precure hit its rock bottom when it comes to numbers and when it comes to sales. 2023 was going to be a huge year for Precure because it was going to be the 20th anniversary, the celebration of 20 years of this amazing franchise. And Hirogaru Sky Precure was the season that was going to bring the 20th anniversary celebration. And so there was a lot of pressure for it to do well. And not only Hirogaru Sky, the whole franchise needed a boost. And I think we can say they were very successful in that. Because if we're seeing strong sales in Hirogaru Sky, in Wonderful Precure, and now in You and Idol Precure, if we look at the numbers here, it's clear that those three seasons that were really performing well are performing well. It's because of what happened in 2023. 2023 was a huge year and a huge momentum for Precure. Apart from Hirogaru Sky and the whole 20th anniversary celebration with concerts and interviews and special messages, they started branching out the franchise. 2023 brought two big changes to the Precure universe. The first one was the announcement of a season that was going to change everything. For the first time, we were going to have the focus on a season of a past Precure season as adults. Otona Precure, like it or not, hate it or love it, doesn't matter. It is something that revitalized and brought back fans from the franchise. The second thing was the first all-male Precure team, Dancing Star Precure, on a dance special stage on theaters. And so Dancing Star Precure is still active. It is still happening. It's still ongoing with Dancing Star Precure, the stage 3, the third installment of this amazing storyline. Apart from that, we also have the current seasons. We had Hirogaru, Wonderful, and now You and Idol. We have the movies that have been powerhouses. All Stars F, Wonderful Precure the movie, You and Idol Precure the movie, very strong. This year we also have the arrival of Precure or Precure Fairies, which is a short anime, but it also has its own merchandise branch. So it's really, really strong. It's really bringing more to the Precure franchise. In Hirogaru, we had big things like the first male cure and also the first adult cure. So I believe that for us to look at those numbers and to actually understand them, we have to look back at 2023 and understand how they were able to create a huge momentum for the Precure franchise by not only bringing an amazing season that was Hirogaru, but also revitalizing the franchise with other things, bringing back fans from different ages, different walks of life, being able to bring back those people and make them feel at home inside the Precure franchise. Those things, they kept on happening after 2023, and they keep on happening. It's really an amazing thing. And another thing that I think is important for us to talk about when it comes to sales is that even though there are no other magical girl shows geared for kids that is rivaling Precure in terms of numbers, and I feel there are lots of people that think that Precure doesn't have a rival and doesn't have competition. Precure actually has a lot of competition, because it doesn't matter if it is a show about magical girls. What matters is that there are lots of shows that are trying to sell merchandise for little girls, and they are competition for Precure. Those last years brought strong competitions for Precure. One of them is the Pretty series, is most specifically Himitsu no Aipuri, which is the newest installment that really also revitalized the Pretty series franchise, which was on kind of a downer, and Himitsu no Aipuri really brought it back with the arcade game, with the anime, with the merchandise, with its own store as well, Prism Stone. Really, really amazing that this is mostly an idol / music show and not a battle show like Precure, but still, it is for little girls, and it is a very strong franchise. Apart from this, we also have Sylvanian Families, which is a phenomenon not only in Japan, but also lots of different parts of the world. Sylvanian Families is also a very strong seller for little girls, but no one comes close to Precure. None of those that I have mentioned come close to Precure. We've had other shows like Aikatsu, for example, that had lots of successful moments, lots of successful seasons. And it's interesting for us to look at the sales. For example, if we look at this chart, we have Happiness Charge Precure. That wasn't a bad seller at all. And Go Princess Precure, that was kind of a low seller. And Go Princess, in the year that Go Princess was airing, it's one of the only years that Precure did not get the #1 seller when it comes to the toy for little girls, because Aikatsu was airing in that year, and Aikatsu got the top spot from that year specifically. That was the only time that it ever happened. And after this specific year, it was all Precure that was the strongest seller of the year. And again, this just proves how solid and how steady Precure is, and how the manufacturers and Toy Animation and the company as a whole, they can trust in Precure to keep on bringing the seller for little girls' toys, which is different when it comes to boy toys, because there's more competition. It's a different talk entirely. For little girls' toys, there is competition for Precure. They exist. The competition exists, but they don't come close when it comes to the numbers of Precure. And when we're talking about sales and numbers, we talk also about cultural impact. Precure is something that is ingrained in people's minds already after 20 plus years airing on television and impacting children. And the anime world in general, the voice acting world in general, the music world in general, Precure is also part of culture already. Precure is part of pop culture in Japan, and it's a name, it's a household name, not only for Toy Animation, but for kids shows, for magical girls already. It is impossible for you to talk about magical girls and not talk about Precure. And this is what I wanted to talk about when it comes to sales, but now I want to have a little bit of a different conversation here. And I have recorded this video before, which was when only the Toy Animation numbers have been announced. And now I am re-recording this video because we have the Bandai numbers as well. So I thought that it was going to be way more complete if we talked about both of them as a whole. But I wanted to talk a little bit about merchandise, sales, about buying. And obviously, Precure is able to live 20 plus years nonstop because it is a very strong seller. Precure is not only a cultural name, it does not only have a cultural impact, it also has a financial impact. That is why year after year, there is going to be a new Precure. In 2026, there is going to be a new Precure. Oh, and let me just use this opportunity to mention another thing, because I have seen a comment in one of my videos, or I don't remember if it was in a post in the community post or if it was in one of my videos, of someone saying, oh, so the strong sales of Kimi to Idol just proves that next year Kimi to Idol is going to have a sequel. That's not how it works. For a Precure franchise to exist, it has to have the pre-production phase, and they start working on a Precure season, a regular Precure season, 2 years before it starts airing. They start thinking about themes, the general idea, how the toys are going to be done, and the themes of the toys themselves. We've seen in an interview for You and Idol in the production side of things that, for example, the toy was decided first to have lots of ribbons, and then the creative minds behind the story had to tie in ribbons to the story of You and Idol. So toys are really important. And so the next Precure season, it has been in store. People have been working on it, both creatively and technically, when it comes to the toys, when it comes to the ideas and how things are going to be, for a long time now. And so they don't know if a season is going to be financially successful or not for them to make a sequel of it. When Precure was starting with Futariwa Precure, it wasn't an established franchise as it is nowadays. So it was always a doubt as if Precure was going to continue or not. It is totally different 20 years after. So we had sequels back then, but nowadays the franchise just works differently. So it is very unlikely for us to have a sequel. And if we do have a sequel, it is not because of the sales that have been strong. It is because they have decided this 2 years before. And I really believe that's not going to be the case because, as I was saying, if they had to have been planning this for quite a while. But what I want to talk about very fast here, because when I recorded it first, I went on a tangent and I've talked a lot about, is the fact that Precure as a franchise is a very strong franchise for a lot of reasons. Personally, I am someone who calls themselves a collector. I like collecting items. It depends, obviously, but when Hirogaru Sky was airing, for example, I decided to collect Ageha items or butterfly items. And now with You and Idol, I have decided to collect items from the season in general. I have decided to get items for all of the cures because I love them like as a whole, as a team. I love the team as a whole. I love the season as a whole. So I have all the transformation items. I have all the weapons. I have acrylics for every character. And other characters, I have other things, specifically like the plushies. I do have Idol and Kiss, who are my particular favorites, even though I love everybody. Things like that are some things that I have decided for myself when it comes to this season. Apart from that, I also think that I enjoy the season with its thematics, with the analytical part and the emotional part as well, because I like watching the show and then I analyze the episodes. Because, I mean, that's another thing that I do here on the channel, because I talk about the episodes one by one. I like dissecting them. I like going into the details that I loved, why I am liking the season so much, etc., etc. So I have those sides in me as in how I am enjoying this particular season. And one nice thing about Precure is that by it being this commercial success, it is something that is very stable. We know that year after year, we are going to be able to get a new Precure season with new characters, a new story, etc., etc., etc. But it's kind of sad when you think about the fact that for this to exist, it needs to produce money. And I say it's sad because it seems that sometimes we tie in success through financial success. Personally, I am loving You and Idol, and it's very nice to see how strong the sales are. This is probably going to end up being my favorite Precure season because I have been loving basically everything about it. But I think that sometimes we end up focusing a lot on numbers, and we focus a lot on merchandise. Oh my God, this merchandise is coming out. I need to get it. I need, if I don't get it, I'm not going to have the full experience. And I think that sometimes this is, if we think about it, I think it's kind of sad because we need to tie in success with financial success always, because we're talking about a product. We're talking about an anime that is a product. Okay, it's also art. It is also a form of art. But for it to exist, for us to be safe, knowing that there is going to be another Precure season, it has to be a good seller as well. It has to be a strong seller. Because if it's not, it might end up on the same destiny as the Sentai that is being rebranded. So it's not going to be the Sentai that the fans have loved so much for these past years. And I fear the same for Precure as well. I mean, I don't fear it now because the numbers speak for themselves. But I fear for sometimes for it to happen. And I'm sad that it's tied to sales. I'm sad that it's tied to numbers. And sometimes I remember past times, like I used to think like, oh my God, I need to buy it. I need to financially support this franchise that I love so much because I want it to continue. And not only with Precure, I think about this with other franchises that I like as well. For it to be successful, it has to have strong sales. It has to have strong numbers. But then it's kind of sad that we have to tie in the success with the financial success, because if it's just something that will gather nice discussions and fans talking about it, fans being excited on the internet about it, it's not going to be enough for the franchise to keep on existing, or for other franchises, for other anime to keep on existing as well. And, this is kind of the capitalist experience of profit. If it's not making enough profit, it's not going to be viable to make more and more of that thing. And obviously it's understandable because it is tied to labor. Precure is something that is closely tied to labor. Whenever we're talking about it, we tend to talk a lot about the creative part of things, like the director, the script writer, the themes of the show, and we like to check out interviews to understand where the ideas come from. But apart from the creative part of things, there is a huge number of workers working to make it possible. They're not putting out their creative minds. They're not putting out ideas. They're not creating a piece of something specific. No, they're working. They are doing specific work. Sometimes, like, the animator might not be able to sleep that night so that they can finish a piece of work that for them is their survival. It's their means of living. It's their career, as in they need to make ends meet at the end of the month. They need to pay their bills. They need to buy food. They need to exist. And, it is tied to that. And it is kind of a sad thing if we think about it. But at the same time, it's the reality. We cannot escape from that. I love doing videos on merchandise. Whenever we have new collections from every Precure season, I always come here. I do videos on merch. I talk about this. I'm always rooting for possible releases of, I was going to say acrylics, but acrylics are a steady release because I love acrylics now. I used to be an acrylic hater, but I'm always rooting for figures, because Precure is a franchise that doesn't really have many figures around. And I really am always rooting for new figures to be announced. I want merchandise coming out of my favorite cures, of my favorite seasons. I like this. But it's part of the experience as well, talking about numbers, talking about sales. But I think that ultimately for us fans, or for us who like watching, it doesn't have to be the end goal. It cannot be the end goal. I think that I like thinking like I have a big collection of You and Idol Precure items, a huge collection of You and Idol Precure items, but I don't think that we measure how much we like something based on how much merchandise we buy for that specific thing. It's not related to how much content we produce. It's not related to how much talk we have on the internet with friends or with people that we don't know about that specific character or that specific season. It's not related to the amount of fanfic. It's not related to the amount of fan arts that I make. It's not. For each person, their experience and the way they're going to show their appreciation is going to be different. And it doesn't matter. There isn't a way of saying this fan is more valuable than this other fan. I mean, for the company, the fan that buys the most merch is probably the most valuable. Let's be honest here. They are probably the most valuable fans, or obviously not with Precure necessarily, because we're talking about parents who are probably buying it for their kids, and this is probably their end goal, and not really the fans, like those crazy fans that are going to buy anything and everything, no matter what. You know, obviously those are valuable too, but they're mostly focusing on the kids, which is their end goal. But for us in a fandom, I think it's important for us to look at ourselves and say, what for me might mean that I'm the biggest fan, or that person is the biggest fan because they have the most merchandise, or this person is the biggest fan because they write the biggest fanfics. I think that there is no way to measure. We are all fans. Some like it more, some like it less, but each of us have their own way of showing the love and appreciation for this show that we love so much. Precure is very, very valuable. And it doesn't matter if you are someone who is always buying the most merchandise, or if you are that kind of fan who just watches and loves and enjoys Precure every single week without buying anything. We're all fans and we all love this franchise so much. And I am sorry that I went on a tangent here, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the sales and about the huge numbers for You and Idol, because I feel like it's reassuring for us as fans that Precure is going to keep on going. Precure is going to keep on being this franchise that we love so much, because it is going to keep on existing for a while at least, because we are celebrating huge, huge sales. And we know that for the higher ups, this matters a lot. Anyways, babies, this is it. And I'm sorry that I talked a lot, but still just wanted to have this conversation with you. Hope it is all fine, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.